Okay, well, Steph, I think we're going to get started right now. And I think Hanan's set up as a co-host. So I think when people start joining in, then we can start to let them in. But I'm just going to go ahead and start moving forward. Anybody that joins us in the middle of the session can come in, and then also just those that are participating, just to know that this presentation is being recorded. Once we're completed with the presentation, we will upload it to the website for the program. So I'm going to get us started a little bit after 3 p.m., 3:02. My name is Michael Cremona with the Community Capital Fund, and today we are hosting the information session for the City of Independence CDBG Local Small Business Assistance Program. Just a little bit about CCF before we get started to talk about the program. CCF is a not-for-profit that invests in innovative and measurable community development. We focus on the areas of financial, human, and social capital in neighborhoods and communities across the greater Kansas City. Just a little bit about what we've done since we started in 2012. We've deployed more than $3 million to neighborhoods and grassroots organizations, as well as entrepreneurs and small businesses. Annually, we host a community development workshop that has collectively drawn more than 2,100 community leaders learning about different projects and how our neighborhoods can work to create opportunities. And we also run a fiscal sponsorship program where we've supported 10 social ventures that have raised more than 3.7 million, that's a lot, collectively for different purposes, and really exciting work, especially over the last year or so, to support those that have been impacted by the pandemic. So I'm going to move forward, and that's enough about us, and we are going to talk and go right into the program. So just to give you all a quick update about the City of Independence CDBG Local Small Business Assistance Program. We launched the program earlier this week on August 17th. It is a partnership between our organization, the Community Capital Fund, and the City of Independence, Missouri. Through this program, we will be able to award grants for rent, lease, and mortgage from $5,000 to $20,000 to small businesses located within the City of Independence, Missouri. So those businesses that have experienced economic hardship due to COVID still are experiencing economic hardship and may not have qualified for other forms of financial relief. This is the program that we hope will get some dollars out to those businesses. Just a little bit, there's a little more information I would recommend, and I am so sorry. I need to, oh, screen sharing has stopped. I was thinking about another program. I need to get back on. Sorry, had some technical issues, and we are back on. Okay. Okay, so a little bit about the eligibility for the program. There's other information. We have a prioritization process for the program, but just to kind of simply lay it out, the types of businesses that would qualify for funding for our program. The first is, of course, submitting a completed application. What we are looking at are those businesses in the City of Independence that have physical brick and mortar locations and are located that they have been located in on or before March 1st of 2020. Unfortunately for this program, home-based businesses are not eligible for funding. We're looking at supporting those businesses solely in commercial spaces. The business that is seeking funding needs to be a for-profit corporation, LLC, partnership, or sole proprietorship. Business must be locally owned. Business must have between 1 to 20 full-time equivalent employees. So those businesses that may be a little bit larger, unfortunately, would not qualify for funding through this grant program. And a really big piece that I do want to emphasize, because this is one of the important factors for those businesses that are receiving funding and will be a huge part of the quarterly reporting for the program, is that in order to receive funds, the business owner needs to commit to retaining or creating jobs for low to moderate income people. The minimum requirement is 1 full-time equivalent employee, and that person must be within the area median income of 80% or less of AMI defined by HUD. And when we go through the application, I'll show you, what that looks like as you guys are applying for that. Of course, the business must be legally operating and current on state and local taxes, must be in good standing with the state of Missouri, and also in good standing with the city of Independence. So that business should not have any unpaid code violations or liens, code enforcement cases, and also not operating in violation of any federal, state, or local laws. Businesses that apply should not currently be in bankruptcy and have not filed for bankruptcy in the last 12 months. And then also looking at supporting those businesses or not supporting those businesses that have a conflict of interest with the city of Independence. So those businesses that may have immediate family members or city of Independence staff cannot have ownership or financial interest in the assisted business or be an employee of this assisted business. And then a very important piece for scoring on the applications on our end is that the business must demonstrate a loss of income since March 1st of 2020 due to the measures that took place in combating the COVID-19 pandemic. And there's additional details regarding the prioritization and eligibility, timeline, use of funds, agreement by grantee and such. And you can visit the website for the program, ccfkansascity.org/INDEPMO, INDEPMO. Moving forward, just to kind of give you guys again, a reminder of the use of funds. The grant program will assist only for the purpose of helping to pay rent, lease, or mortgage expenses for the businesses. Very important piece is that provided that those costs are not paid by insurance or by other local, state, federal, private programs, that is a very important piece considering that this is a federally funded program. And we want to be sure that there is an avoidance of duplication of benefits. So businesses that do qualify and are awarded, just to give you all an example, would not be able to cover months of rent or lease that have already been covered by another entity, another program. The grants may not exceed $20,000, so the minimum is $5,000, and the maximum that can be requested is $20,000. And for these grants, repayment is not required if all conditions are met. And we can talk a little bit about that as we walk through the application. But really, the important piece is that job retention and creation component for receiving funds, and the quarterly reporting that's required for the year following a receipt of those funds. How to apply. So we have tried our best to make the application as accessible as possible. So we have multiple ways that individuals can apply to the program. We have an online form that I will walk through today, so you all have an idea of some of the questions that are being asked, how to submit, and such. And you can visit the website at ccfkansascity.org/INDEPMO to get more information about that online form to get access to it. We also created a fillable PDF application that folks can work on their computer and submit to us via the info@ccfkansascity.org page. And we also have applications available, thanks a lot to the City of Independence, Independence Economic Development Council, and the Independence Chamber of Commerce for hosting their office as one of the sites for folks to drop off applications, pick up applications, and we are also providing some in-person grant assistance here at the office too. So I'll talk a little bit more about that. We do ask that if you've been diagnosed or exposed to COVID in the last 14 days, that you try not to submit your application in person, but we do make the in-person applications available for those who may have some trouble with the online form or the fillable PDF form. Moving forward, just want to walk through the timeline. So we did launch the program on August the 27th. Today is the 29th, and we are hosting the info session that will be recorded and shared on the website following the completion. And just to let you all know, from now until the 30th, we are hosting several in-person office hours. So our team is available to meet with folks one-on-one, to answer questions, to assist with the application. And we're over here at the Independence Council for Economic Development at 210 West Truman Road in Independence, Missouri, so at the Independence Square. We're here today until 5 p.m. the 19th, and we'll be back on Wednesday, August 25th from 9 to 5. And then we will also be here Monday, August 30th from 9 to 5 p.m. Another date to note is that September the 3rd, before midnight, the application period closes. So we did provide about 3 weeks for folks to work on the applications. Again, our team is providing assistance for folks in person, via email, over the phone, just to really make sure that we get as many people who need the funding to apply for the program. During the month of September, we will use that time to review applications. And during the week of October the 4th, we anticipate notifying applicants of award or non-award. And following that, we will start to get payments out for rent, mortgage, lease assistance. And then again, as part of receiving funds, there's a quarterly reporting requirement for grantees. So the period from October of 2021 to September of 2022 will be that grant reporting period for those who receive funds through the program. So just to kind of walk you all through, so I'm going to jump over to the online application because I want you all to get an idea of what the application looks like. Again, we have an online form, a fillable PDF form, and we do have printed versions that we have made available. Our team has also been visiting businesses this week and will continue to do so to make sure that we're not missing anybody that could qualify for funding for the program. So I'm going to jump over real quick and get a new share so you all can see the page for the program. All right, so if I can move that out the way, and we will go here. So we created this online form, and for those that choose to do the online form, I do just want to note that if you're not able to submit your application in one sitting, it does give you the option to save your progress. We'll provide you a password that you create, and then on our end, we have an idea of which applications are being worked on and which ones have been completed. And in any case, if you do not, if you have trouble logging back on or lose your password, someone from our team on our end can actually resubmit that information to you. So just something to keep in mind. So again, walking you all through the application, what we wanted to be sure is that people aren't missing some of the important information of the program. So the application online plus the application that's in the fillable version are set up in a way to where it begins with the application guidelines. So as again, recommend reading through the full description of the program, the eligibility pieces that we talked about. We do have some prioritization areas for businesses to receive funding. So we have that here in this area. And then also, again, just emphasizing that not-for-profits, medical office, and home-based businesses are not eligible. Businesses cannot be corporately owned, so that's larger corporations, nationally owned corporations, or publicly traded. Local franchises are eligible. So again, the program is really meant to support businesses that are local here in the City of Independence. So again, use of the funds, the application process that we walked through, the timeline is also available here. And then just to give you all a quick update on the checklist of required documents. We've had some experience with other city programs in the past, so been able to see some of the challenges that businesses have had in applying for programs such as this. So we've made the process as easy as possible to seek a level of documentation that's not too burdensome for the businesses, but also enough for us to demonstrate that we're able to make an informed decision on who receives funding and who does not. So the businesses that to determine eligibility, the documentation that's needed is a certificate good standing from the state of Missouri. We would ask for a copy of your lease, rental, and mortgage agreement, copy of most recent quarterly report, and then the business financials that we ask for depend on the type of business that you have. And the reason why we ask for the business financials is that we do want to be able to use that to review the applications, and that documentation helps to demonstrate a reduction in revenue beginning March 1st of 2020 or later. For the sold props, it'll be 2019 or 2020 Schedule C. Partnerships be the KIs and the 941s. For corporations, both C and S, the 1120, 941s. And then for some businesses, because we've realized in the past that some of the smaller businesses do have a hard time, or maybe not as prepared in putting together some of the financial documentation. So if the need can't be determined based on that financial documents, then we do ask for bank statements to be provided. And again, the purpose for the documentation that's necessary to submit with the application is so that our team can determine a reduction in revenue for that business. And if tax returns aren't provided, then year-end payroll reports are required for 2019 or 2020. Again, so the big piece of the program is that we're looking at those businesses served to commit to retaining or creating jobs held by low to moderate income people. So documentation for that would be needed. We can determine that based on the payroll reports, pay stubs, or W-2s. If the business is owned by an individual who is considered a micro enterprise, so those are those businesses where there are 5 or fewer full-time equivalent employees. We also would need additional documentation, most recent personal tax returns, and if tax returns aren't available, then income verification for all members of the household, which would be pay stubs, bank statements, or other. Photo ID is required too at the time of submitting the application. And we did create a 2-tier process for documentation collection. So the items that I explained earlier would be required at the time that you're submitting your application. And after review of applications and scoring and decisions to make awards, in order to receive payment, we would need a W-9 form for the business, a W-9 for the vendor to be paid, so that landlord or mortgage company, and then a confirmation of DUNS number. So those are a few items to keep in mind. Would recommend getting that started, especially applying for that DUNS number, since that does take a couple of weeks or so. But just something to keep in mind, not necessary at the time of submitting the application, but would be required when, if awarded and in order to receive the funds. So that's what we would need. So based on the information provided, we determine the eligibility and will conduct the underwriting as required. Again, as I mentioned, the agreement by the grantee must commit to program requirements, will be required to submit quarterly reports for the year following receipt of funds. And those quarterly reports will include use of funds, the business status, current number of employees, and any additional information in the agreement. So we'll just go straight into the application. So as you all see, it's a very simple application that we put together. So first, the application asks for your personal information. Who is the person applying? There's some demographic information that's asked. And then moving forward, a little bit about the business. So we do ask about the business type, required the EIN or Social Security for the sold props. And then here again, there's space for DUNS number. There are several businesses that, if you've received funding from other sources, may already have a DUNS number. But for others, again, we provided a link on how to apply. Not necessary to have at the application stage, but necessary for the award stage if a business gets to that level. Information about the business, contact information. We ask on the date that the business was established, when it began operations in that current address. And then now that we are in 2021, if applicable, 2019 business sales, and then 2020 business sales. And then we do ask for a little bit information on the business owner. So start off by including your name as the first business owner, percentage of business owned. And if there are any additional business owners, then we ask for just the name and the percentage of that business that owner owes. So then the way that the application is structured, if you do have to add any additional information, you can just create more space, remove individuals from that. So that's one kind of easy way that the program has or the application has been put together. And then we ask a little bit about the impact that the business has had from COVID. So here in this space, impact of COVID provides you a little bit of a space to add a narrative on how your business has been impacted by COVID. And then we also asked several questions regarding the City of Independence's stay-at-home order that was established last year and how your business was impacted by it. So if it was deemed non-essential, yes or no, if the business was able to reopen under the normal operations while the order stayed in effect, and then also loss of revenues, and then just kind of asking a little bit about the impact regarding staff. So if the orders at any point in time required you to lay off or furlough employees, that information can be provided here. So moving forward, requested assistance. So we do ask the type of assistance you're requesting. Pretty simple, since the funds can only be used for one of the three purposes here. If you are currently in arrears or not, there's space here. We do ask for the minimum monthly payment, and then again, the amount that you're requesting. So keep in mind the minimum amount that you can request is $5,000 and the maximum is $20,000 for rent, lease, or mortgage. Here's where you'll provide information about the landlord mortgage holder. Again, the funds, when awarded, do get paid directly to that landlord or mortgage holder. So this information is important for us to be able to start once we select businesses, begin processing those payments to those groups. Here's another piece, just kind of looking at other assistance that your business may have applied for, been denied for, or qualified for. So here's some space to just share more information about any other loans, grants, or assistance that you applied for, the amount, and then what the status is and for what purpose. And then very similar to the piece about the business owners, you have space to add responses or remove them if there's additional information that needs to be shared. If you didn't apply or receive any assistance, then you can just check off this space right here. Asking, so this is the piece right here again, considering those micro enterprises, whether or not a business owner or an applicant needs to submit personal tax returns in addition to the documentation that's required, considering if that business owner runs a business that has 5 or fewer full-time equivalent employees. If so, then the documentation right here, it would be required in addition to everything else that would be submitted. And then again, the very important piece, so for this program, HUD does require that the Community Development Block Grant funds, which is where this program, the funding comes from, requires that there is a component in serving low or moderate income communities. And for the purpose of this program, we are looking at supporting those businesses that are committed to retaining or creating full-time equivalent positions that are held by employees who would be considered low to moderate income. So we put a table here for you all to get an idea on what those income limits are. So that way you have that. And again, the documentation that you provide, payroll reports, any W-2 if necessary, or pay stubs would be enough for us to be able to determine if that employee does indeed fall within low to moderate income standards. So again, this is, I would say, one of the more important pieces, because it'll also be part of the reporting requirements for those grantees. So here in this space, you get an idea on what that looks like. Look to create or retain jobs. So once you do that, it'll pop up. And then here's where we want to know those job positions. So the program itself is looking at job positions at the moment. And then as you report, you'll continue to report on those positions within your business. So there's space to list the position title, whether that is a position that you are retaining or creating. Because it's easier for us to be able to match. Sometimes the payroll reports only have names of individuals. As we're reviewing, we're able to match the name of an employee to that payroll report. So here's why we ask for the employee name or ID, and then the employee wage or salary. There's space for that, and this is the information in addition to that documentation to help us with determining this important need for the program. And just like the other parts, if you do commit to creating or retaining additional positions, you have some space here to add responses or remove responses. So then here, there's an endorsement page for you to sign and date, certifying that all the information is true to the best of your knowledge. There is a release information, so I do want to share with you that because CCF is contracted by the City of Independence to administer this program, there is going to be some information that is shared with the city for the purpose of demonstrating our compliance with the program requirements. So required to receive funding we would ask that you agree to the release of this the information. Release of information. And then we also provided an optional piece. So CCF is an affiliate of AltCap, which is a local community development financial institution. AltCap during the pandemic has provided small business loans and microloans to support businesses. So while you're looking at this, if for any reason you are interested or would like somebody from the AltCap team to reach out to you to discuss small business loan or microloan, then we provided an optional release of information here. Not required when you submit the application. Again, the piece that is required is that release of information to the City of Independence, since it will be necessary for us to demonstrate compliance with the program. And that is pretty much it. And then, well, here we've made some space for your required attachments. You'll notice right here, the little red marks note that this is, these are items, attachments that are required, and very much the same as some of the areas, the fields. So you'll see that you won't be able to submit your application successfully if you've not attached the necessary documentation or filled out the fields that are required in order to submit the report. So we ask again for the documentation that we mentioned. Just to kind of allow for some space, any other additional documentation that you might that you might need to share to support the need for the business. We provided some space here for that too. Notice of arrear from landlord mortgage holder, statement of cash flow, or any other documentation that would be needed. And then once you're done, you should be able to successfully submit. When you do submit that application online, you'll get an automatic reply. Our team will be notified that the application was submitted, and then we will follow up once that application deadline closes and we begin to do the review of those applications. Now, I do want you all to know that, of course, we do make mistakes when submitting documentation. So as we review those applications, we will check to make sure we did receive the documentation that's needed. So our group does provide a grace period for those businesses that may have been unsuccessful in submitting the necessary documentation, the correct documentation that's needed. So that'll be part of the review process. As we score the applications, our team will also follow up as needed for any additional information from the applicants. So with that, that should be all of our time. I just want to go back to the PowerPoint slide and just share contact information if you all just have any additional questions. So again, you can visit the website for the program. We've created a landing page at ccfkansascity.org/in-depth-mo. Again, Michael Carmona, Program Manager, can email me at michael@ccfkansascity.org, and our number is 816-502-9584. Also on this session, I have several of my colleagues, Hanan Al-Abdallah and Velia Calcata, who work very gracefully in helping support folks in getting through the application process. So if you call that number, you can reach out to any of us through that. And then I also recommend, if you do have access to social media, we have the information about the program on the website, but we do use the socials to kind of continuously add any additional information about what's happening with the program. So recommend just keeping up that way. And yeah, really that's it for today. What I'm going to do for the purposes of our recording is to stop the recording, and then I am going to answer any questions that you all have regarding this presentation or the program in general, okay? And stop share, and I will stop